Welcome back to the Messianic Hour. I'm your host, Rabbi Scott. This show is dedicated to reaching the lost and educating the found. And I want to encourage you to go to our website, rabbiscott.com. We actually have something very special on there. We have a very special guest at this half segment of our show. State Representative Sam Teasley is a representative here in Georgia, and he has this week put out a resolution in support of Israel. If you want to read the entire resolution, you go to our website, rabbiscott.com. There's a link on it for you to be able to read the resolution and for his website as well. Representative Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I'm glad to be with you.
So let me ask you, why, here we are in the state of Georgia. Why did you, as a state representative, feel it's important that we needed to have this resolution to support Israel?
Well, two basic things. One, it comes from a basic understanding that I've had virtually my entire life, having grown up in a very devout Christian home. These are just things we talk about at the dinner table that, as it says in Psalm 122, that we need to be praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Also, and then as it lays out in Genesis 12, as God is calling Abraham, he says, I will make you a great nation, I will bless you, I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And just coming from the understanding my entire life that God places a very high importance on defending and speaking up for the nation of Israel, and that it is, I've heard one person recently say that it's the only geographical boundaries that God has ever set forth in, that God set up the boundaries of geography for a nation. And so it's just something that I've personally believed for a long time, and I think Scripture is pretty clear about it. And secondarily, I think it's important that we, nations that are focused on liberty and focused on freedom, recognize who our true allies are in the world, and to stand up and be counted with the nations around the world that stand up for freedom.
That's great. Now, can you go ahead and read us a segment of the resolution? Again, you can go to our website, rabbiscott.com. We have a link on there to the entire one, and also to State Representative Sam Teasley's website as well. But go ahead and read us a part of that.
Certainly. I'll kind of read the highlights here. It says, whereas the Jewish people established the sovereign and independent state of Israel on May 14th, 1948, and the United States immediately established full diplomatic relations with Israel, and whereas Israel has a pluralistic, democratic political system that contains the most vibrant light for freedom in the Middle East, and is the region's most dedicated country in protecting the rights of ethnic minorities, and whereas the Georgia Department of Industry, Trade, and Tourism signed an agreement to establish a Middle East trade office in Israel in June of 1996, and whereas the state of Georgia and Israel have maintained a special relationship based on mutually shared democratic values, common strategic interests, and moral bonds of friendship and mutual respect, and Israel has continually demonstrated that it is pro-American. Whereas 2012 marks 64 years of the historic significance of the reestablishment of the sovereign and independent state of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people, and whereas Israel is not as what is wrong with the Middle East, but Israel is what is right about the Middle East, and whereas the state of Georgia stands to be recognized as being of unequivocal support for the state of Israel in its dire need to maintain its existence as a country and a democracy at this time. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Georgia House of Representatives that the members of this body commend the special friendship between Georgia and Israel and their efforts to promote economic and commercial partnerships between the two nations. That's
great. Now, I do have a question. Was there any opposition to this?
No, there was none, and people of both political stripes, both political parties were supportive, and we had, I don't remember the exact number, out of 25 or 30 people who signed on to the resolution.
So that's great. So we see this is a bipartisan agreement here coming in to support Israel, not only as a nation, but as a state as well. And as you said, the Georgia and Israel has had a very close relationship. And what would you suggest? This radio show goes across 75 different radio stations, a number of different states. If a person's in a different state, how would you suggest they contact their state representative to do something like this as well for their state?
It's funny you ask that question, because it is continually remarkable to me, particularly on the state representative and state senator level, that we very rarely get personal messages from constituents, from people that we represent. That, we often get these form emails telling us to vote for or against the bill, But very rarely does a constituent actually personally reach out to us by telephone or by email and ask something of us. And I wish constituents would be more involved in doing that. It is remarkable since we get so little of that we're generally very responsive to people who actually reach out. So what I'd recommend you do, there's either a Secretary of State's website that'll tell you where you vote. I think there's Project Vote Smart that can tell you who your representatives are. But I'd make a point, if someone wanted to see this in their state, to reach out to their state representative by finding out on the web who represents them, and then call them on the phone or send a personal email, which usually on the legislator's website you'll find a place where you can get their email address or send them a note. But I recommend, really, the personal phone call is usually the best. And when someone does that, so they're able to contact them, and then the state representatives will then be able to take this resolution before as well. What drove you to do this? Was it someone contacting you, or is it your own personal faith and understanding of blessing Israel? Well, it's both. I had someone bring it to my attention that, hey, someone needs to speak up. We need to be continually speaking up for Israel. And, of course, when I heard that, I'm like, why didn't I think of that before now? So when a friend of mine named Jeff just called me up and said, hey, what do you think about doing some kind of a resolution to acknowledge Israel and its right to exist and its right to defend itself, as well as the values it stands for? And I said, Jeff, that's a great idea. I wish I had thought of it. So it's a little bit of both. Well, great. And obviously, you're where you are. You represent Cobb County. It's a very large Jewish population, also obviously a very large believer population. Have you been able to work with the local Jewish communities in any other way with work that you've been doing as a state representative? Not in any direct way. We have a Messianic temple in the very northeastern part of the county, Congregation Beth Hallel, right, which I have some friends who attend there and have spoken with the rabbi there, but not in any official capacity. That's great. And we got about just over 2 minutes left. What do you see with what's going on right now in the Middle East? With the Arab Spring, and now Egypt is trying to form their constitution, and the Muslim Brotherhood is really behind this, and they're ones who are behind Hamas and the terrorist groups. How do you see as a state representative, what can we do, and what can we do as members in your area and others to help support Israel in these matters? Well, I think the first thing that is required of us is to hearken back to Psalm 122, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And that, as believers, I think it is not only our privilege, but it's our duty to be in prayer, that God would bring peace to Jerusalem and to protect it from its enemies. In terms of what we can do on a practical level, I would say continue to reach out, particularly to your federal representatives, your congressmen, your senators, and let them know how important it is to you that we reach out and protect one, if not our strongest ally in the world, certainly one of our strongest. And to communicate to our congressmen and our senators that we don't need to shrink back from defending our friends. That's right. I appreciate that. And one final note too: are you looking? Do you get to meet with the representatives here? I know we have the Minister of Tourism here in Atlanta to help show support for Israel. Is there anything that you've been able to work with them? On that note, we got about 25 seconds. Okay. Not at this point, and certainly would be very much open to doing that. Recently went to the AIPAC conference, or the AIPAC meeting that was in Atlanta a few months ago, but I have not been able to connect yet on a direct level with folks here in Atlanta. Well, I appreciate that. Well, we appreciate what you've done, and I know God will bless you for what you've been doing with it. I want to encourage you again, go to our website, RabbiScott.com. You can see the full resolution. Also, you can see Representative Sam's website there. Go check it out. Until next week, this is Rabbi Scott saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.